Here today is Beaver Applin, the founder and CEO of Buc-ee's. Have you all heard of Buc-ee's? We got two off I-95 on the east side of Florida, one in St. Augustine and one in Daytona Beach. Very big in Texas, grew, and it's really grown, and people love it. We'll talk more about that. We have our Congresswoman, Kat Kamak, is here. Thank you for We have our FDOT Secretary, Jared Perdue, Laura DeBella, President and CEO of Enterprise Florida. From Ocala, we have Mayor Ken Gwynn, City Council President Hitley, City Councilwoman Dreyer, and Representatives Masulo and McLean, and we have Senator Keith Perry is here with us, so thank you. Well, I don't think I need to tell people in Marion County that Florida is growing. We're the #1 fastest growing state in the United States, and Florida has actually, even though we've all seen a lot of growth over the years, Florida has actually not been the fastest growing state in the country since 1957. And part of that is the bigger you are, it's harder to grow faster. And it's not something that we're like begging people to come. It's just the reality of you have a lot of areas in this country that are misgoverned. I think you see a lot of crime, you see bad tax policy, bad spend policy, bad COVID policy, all these things, bad education policy has helped to, I think, propel people to seek greener pastures, and we are the #1 landing spot for folks. We are the #1 state for net in-migration. And we have that, I think we've been that every year since I've been governor. You look about our rankings, of course we don't have an income tax. We're #2 for lowest state per capita taxes. Our debt per capita is second lowest in the country. We have a record budget surplus. We're ranked #1 for new business formations, #1 for education freedom, #1 for parental involvement in education, and our public higher education system is ranked #1 in the country by U.S. News and World Report. So we've got a lot going for us. Our tourism has been very, very strong. You know, there was a time, 2020, 2021, where if you wanted to visit any place, Florida was like the one place you could visit and be normal. And so we had so many people flooding to come down here, and it was a big deal when COVID first started because we didn't know what that was going to mean for our economy, and there was a lot of trepidation. But I think because we went in a different direction than many other states, the contrast was so stark, and people just felt like if they could get here, and I had people write me letters thanking me, and I'm like, what do you thank me for? It's like, we left Illinois for 2 weeks and were able to bring our family and be normal, and then everyone was going crazy with this and that, and we were normal, and it was good. So that we served that purpose and that function, but we were able to do great in tourism. Last year, 2022, 137 million visitors to Florida. That is a record, and that's even with still some of these idiotic restrictions for foreign travel that the federal government is doing. So we've been able to see that our unemployment rate is a full percentage point below the national average. And if you look at what happened, particularly with COVID, when they were paying people not to work, all these things, some of these people just dropped out of the labor force. A lot of states haven't even recovered their pre-COVID employment numbers. We have way more people employed in Florida today than we did pre-COVID. Our labor force is actually growing, and there's a lot of opportunities here, which we're very, very proud of. Now, we also know that when you have Congress doing trillions and trillions of dollars of borrowing, and the Fed printing trillions and trillions of dollars over the last few years, of course that was going to lead to inflation. Our Federal Reserve didn't think so. They thought that it would be transitory. But it's absolutely incredible what they've done to fuel this inflation. You remember the financial crisis in 2008. They did QE. That was like a big deal, pumped a lot of money into the economy, and that was very controversial. And then they did the bank bailout, the TARP, which was $700 billion. That was very controversial. Well, now, if you compare the money that the Fed printed for 2008 financial crisis to what they printed starting March of 2020, they've done way, way more in the last 3 years. And so this is something that when you start doing that, you fast forward a year and a half, or of course, that's just textbook that you're going to get inflation. And so for them to think that somehow that would not happen, it was a really, really big error. And so then what they've done, they saw inflation high, they've been hiking rates very rapidly. That's causing problems with banks, it's causing problems with others, although the banks, if you're politically connected, what did they do at Silicon Valley? They bailed the bank out. They pumped hundreds of billions of dollars more of printed money back in to try to deal with that. And this is something, this bailout, that never even passed Congress. They're just doing it unilaterally. I can tell you, if there was a bank here in Ocala that was having problems, do you think that you would have been bailed out if you had money in there that was not insured? Of course not. That would have failed. So they're really protecting, I think, the people that are politically connected, but the rest are still dealing with the inflation, still dealing with a lot of uncertainty. Oil's $82 a barrel. A lot of people think that's going to really shoot up over the next year. OPEC just cut production. There's a big reduction in production. You'd think that we would want to be producing more of our own stuff here. That would be very sensible, not with the guy in the White House. He doesn't think that that's sensible, but if we used our own resources, we'd be totally independent of all OPEC and all this other stuff, and it would do more than probably any single thing to help cool the jets on inflation. So I think we should be independent, energy independent, and I think we should use our resources. So we're mindful of a lot of the stuff that's happening nationally that is causing problems. So what we're doing in Florida, and we were actually, I think we were in town, or we were definitely in Central Florida when we announced our big tax package. So the taxes we're going to do, and look, we don't have an income tax, which is great, but it just means, you can't cut income tax rates, and so you got to figure out other ways. And so we're doing big reductions for people, families, no sales tax on anything involving raising babies. So diapers, wipes, clothing, cribs, strollers, you name it. All that is going to be permanently tax-free in the state of Florida. We did the we're doing a tax holiday, no sales tax for a year on all pet food. That's going to save Floridians a lot of money. No sales tax permanently on over-the-counter pet medications, which is going to be really, really good. Do a 1-year sales tax holiday on all household items under $25, and so just things you need on a daily basis. That'll be tax-free. So we're working, and I think the legislature is even going to put more in there than I had proposed, partially because they increased the estimate for the amount of surplus that we have compared to my budget that we did many months ago, which just shows you there's a lot of strength going on in Florida. So we're doing that. We're very mindful of that, and I think it's going to give people, and we did the toll relief for people. And the tolls are different in different parts of Florida. Some places you can't move without hitting a toll in some of these local communities. And so what we did, you have that Sun Pass or those passes, they keep track of when you're going, and once you hit a certain number in a month where we know you're a commuter, they refund you 50% of your tolls each month. So that people are saving a lot of money on that, and I think it's going to end up saving some families more than $1,000 during the 2023 calendar year. So that's very meaningful, and so we're constantly looking for ways to be able to help folks navigate the Biden inflation, navigate whatever fallout there could be. I talk to people about, are we going to have a recession? A lot of people say it's here, because they're seeing a lot of problems on the horizon already. So, look, I think Florida's much better positioned than some of these other states. And remember, when the housing bust happened in 2008, Florida was one of the worst performing states. I mean, we got totally killed. And that's because a lot of our economy, the eggs were in that basket. Well, now we've seen a lot of great growth of our economic base, and so we're in a much better situation, I think. But nevertheless, we're mindful of those potential horizons. Our debt in Florida, our economy's over $1 trillion. Our debt is $20 billion. Now compare that to the federal. The U.S. economy, what is it, like 24, 25 trillion? But the debt is 31 trillion. So the debt is higher by a lot than our entire American economy. In Florida, that $20 billion debt compared to a $1 trillion economy, that is a small fraction, very, very small fraction. Nevertheless, even though we're in good shape there, we're actually going to take some of our surplus, and we're working with the legislature on this, to do some accelerated debt repayment. So we're actually going to be paying it down even quicker. And that's So we're here today because we're always looking for ways to make an impact in terms of economic growth. I have a program that is the legislature appropriates money, and the governor and kind of our administration are able to identify worthy projects to get grants. And it's called the Job Growth Grant Fund. It can be used for infrastructure projects, but it could also be used for workforce projects. So we've put a lot of that money into expanding opportunities for commercial driver's license. You know, when I became governor, we produced about 600 truck drivers a year. Now we have the capacity to do 3,500 truck drivers a year. So that's a huge thing. You talk about supply chain. You also just having, it's a tough job driving the big rigs, but the pay has gone up a lot with that because they're in high demand. So you're starting out in a lot of these places, like Walmart, I think is starting at $110,000 for qualified truck drivers. So we're doing that, and we've pumped a lot of grants into very strategic things that are really going to make an impact for the state of Florida. We've also done key infrastructure. We've done things to help expand the, and we were in the area that near the villages. We're doing things to help with like industrial parks so that there's connectivity with a road or underlying infrastructure. We've done that all across the state. You know, I'm proud of our tourism. It's great. It's a great state. We work hard to have a beautiful environment here. We'll continue to do that. I'm proud of other things, you know, that we do, like agriculture and whatnot. But you know, I want to build more things in Florida, and we have expanded. We've added, I think, about 80,000 manufacturing jobs in the last 4 years. But when you have those industrial assets, you have a very good tax climate, very good regulatory climate. People are going to want to do that, and when you're committed to workforce. So we've been doing all of that, and it's really, really exciting. We're going to keep doing that because we know it's important. So here, we're getting to the end of my money for this current fiscal year. So we have a lot of people that apply, different communities that apply, and we got an application from here that we were working with that said, you know what, we need a grant to be able to build a new interchange off I-75 at Northwest 49th Street in Ocala. And the reason for that, I think, is a couple things. One, it will actually help with traffic at the 326 and 40 interchanges, which we know there's a lot of traffic here on 75. We announced a program a couple months ago called Move America Forward, where we're trying to inject $4 billion in general revenue that we could parlay into $7 billion total to accelerate projects, including some of the stuff on 75 here. That will allow some of that stuff to be done 10, 12 years ahead of schedule. And so if you can get some of this done in 7 years versus 20 years, that's going to make a big difference. So there's a broader infrastructure play, but this particular thing to help with some traffic, also support opportunities to expand manufacturing at the Ocala-Marion County Commerce Park, would also support visitors at the nearby World Equestrian Center, which has been a huge hit. I mean, people rave about it. You got people from all over the country that come down for that. So, you know, you have that right off, be able to get off 75 there. And then, of course, reason why we have this paraphernalia, when this interchange is completed, it will be completed at the same time we have an opening of the 3rd Buc-ee's in the state of Florida, and that's going to be really, really exciting. So they started in Florida in 2021. I was with Beaver for the big one that we did in Daytona Beach to open that up, and I tell you, I mean, it's been a huge, huge hit. If you've never been in one of these Buc-ee's, I mean, you know, they see all this stuff. They make so much stuff. They have those beaver nuggets. They have all kind of barbecue they make. They have any type of, like my kids like, because they've got the Dippin' Dots. They've got all kinds of stuff. I mean, it's basically like the Shangri-La service station when you go into a Buc-ee's. And this one's going to be massive. It's going to be 80,000 square foot store, travel center. It's going to have 120 fuel pumps and more than 720 parking spaces for people that are in the neighborhood. And I think if you've ever been on 95 in Florida and done, or if you've been in some of the ones, they got one on I-10 in Alabama as you're coming into Florida. Texas ones are very, very popular, but it's like, I mean, people buzz, there's a buzz about it, everyone gets really excited, and so I'm excited to see that this will be here. First one that we've had on I-75 in the state of Florida, and I don't know that Beaver can say this, but this is going to be bigger than I think the other two in Florida, and it may be as big as any Buc-ee's they've ever done. So this is a great project. The thing is, I mean, these are jobs here for that. Obviously, we as consumers and travelers think about being able to have access, which is good, but I can tell you, they do a good job as a company and give people opportunities, and so I'm excited about that. So our grant today will be from the Florida Department of Transportation to build that I-75 interchange, and that's going to be good for this area, and I think it's going to be good for the state of Florida. And we will hopefully, I don't know, like I told Jared Perdue, we had the hurricane and we had different things, bridges, all this stuff. So we took over the bridge rebuild because we wanted to help. And they ended up reconstructing the Pine Island Bridge, which people thought was going to be out 6 months in 3 days. So what I said is on this, I was like, I don't know what the normal schedule is, but I think the sooner that people are able to go to Buc-ee's, the better. So why don't we try to step on the gas? So stay tuned on that. So we're glad that we're able to get this done. We're glad we'll be able to do this. This is a great strategic use of the Job Growth Grant Fund. We are very, very encouraged about all the great reviews that we're getting out of this part of the state. And we know there's just been so much going on, and people are noticing all across the country. I'll tell you what, it's really something. So we're going to hear from some folks here, and then we'll present the check at the end. So first, we're going to hear from Beaver from Buc-ee's, so founder and CEO of Buc-ee's, come on up.
Thank you, Governor, and I want to thank everyone for turning out today. This exciting announcement. It's a real honor to be here, and we are very excited about being in Florida. We've had, as the Governor mentioned, quite a lot of success in the 2 stores that we have operating on Interstate 95. We've known that 75 would be a great interstate for a long time, looking for the right piece of property. And so when we realized that there was an opportunity that this entirely new interchange would be created, then it really opened our eyes for the opportunities here. I want to say all of the reasons that the Governor mentioned earlier is exactly why businesses like us want to be in Florida. And so I just can't say enough about a pro-business state and what that does. The jobs it brings, the construction, the tax base. And so this state is heavy in tourism. And so it's really nice when we have people travel that come to the state to be able to provide commerce for them and be able to conduct business here in Florida. So I can't say enough about all of the statistics that he rattled off that makes Florida special. And that doesn't come by accident. And so I recognized that many, many years ago when we first came and started looking for opportunities to build in Florida. And so it's a big deal. We're excited about it, very excited. We're ready to get started. I got to tell you, one of the things that I love about this governor is what he just said is exactly true. We were in the back, and he asked the secretary and I, he says, how long is this going to take to complete? We told him, he said, why can't you do it faster? And I just looked at the secretary and said, so there's a lot of work to be done, and I don't mean to give them the business. We have wonderful respect and great working relationship with the Department Department of Transportation. And these things can't be done without the Department of Transportation. But the support that it gets from the leadership, from the governor and everyone down, the financial, the big check that's over there that will help this community and help generate the impetus to get this project started, and Ocala is going to be huge. So I want to thank everybody for coming out, and I look forward hopefully to see everybody at a groundbreaking soon and a ribbon cutting not far after that. So thank you for coming out, and thank you for loving what we do and loving Buc-ee's. We take it quite serious, and it never goes unnoticed. So thank you.
All right, Jared Purdue, FDOT Secretary.
All right, thank you, Governor. Thank you for your leadership. And one of the things you learn very quickly when working for the governor, there's never a time to rest. You always have to be moving forward. And no pressure on this project, right? But we're incredibly excited about this. This is a great project. A new interchange at Northwest 49th Street and I-75. It's something we've been partnering with Marion County and the City of Ocala on for many years now, been in development. This job growth grant that we're receiving is going to help us advance the right-of-way acquisition so that we can really get this project moving. Under the governor's leadership, the economy has continued to grow and diversify, and really it's creating jobs all over the state. And this is no exception to that. We realize here at DOT how our infrastructure affects the economy, the quality of life, and continues to feed the job market for those local communities. So we're extremely excited about that. We're going to be building a diverging diamond interchange. It's a new type of interchange that really helps relieve traffic. We built a couple of them across the state. This is going to help relieve congestion, but also provide that for that economic growth. It's not only going to relieve congestion on the other interchanges on 75. It will actually relieve congestion on 75 because it's part of a bigger plan that Marion County has to kind of build a loop around the greater Ocala area, and it's really going to bring substantial relief. So we're extremely excited to partner on this project. We've made a lot of progress already, and as you heard, we're under a lot of pressure to speed it up. So we're going to be working on that as we look to the future. So thank you, Governor. Thanks again for your leadership. We're proud to serve Ocala, Marion County. We're proud to serve Floridians. And we're certainly proud to be working on bringing the Buc-ee's to Florida, which, by the way, their business model works great. My wife and I have 5 daughters, and every time we go on a trip, the question is there a Buc-ee's on the way? So, thank you, Governor.
Represent the best congressional district in all of Florida. Florida's my third. But we're heading into Easter weekend, and I thought the timing was a little gratuitous. You know, as a kid growing up, you always get an Easter basket, and Governor, I have to thank you because this weekend I get Buc-ee's. So this is incredible. There's so many thanks that need to go out. Obviously, to you, Governor DeSantis, your leadership has shown what you can do when you are laser focused and principled. So thank you for your leadership in continuing to deliver for all of Floridians. To our state legislators, you guys have been wonderful. Stan, you and Keith, as well as the rest of the Florida legislature, you guys have done an incredible job in continually delivering for the state and all of our local representatives here. It wouldn't be possible to have a project like this without local leadership that is so focused on smart development and solutions for our constituents. So thank you all so much. You know, I have to say, I was this close to wearing the exact same beaver outfit today. So I'm so glad that I went a different direction. I hate it when you show up and someone's wearing the same outfit. But not just the excitement of having a Buc-ee's here, which of course, I'm always a little partial to our district, as you know, Governor. And I always talk about how amazing would it be. 75 is just, it's expanding, it's growing, there's so much traffic, it would do so well. But then you get a project like this that is going to deliver multiple solutions, not just a Buc-ee's, which is incredible. As the wife of a first responder, it's so incredible what our LEOs and our firefighters do day in and day out. And so I'd be remiss I would be remiss if I didn't acknowledge the incredible LEOs and fire personnel in the room. The expansion with this interchange is going to be a relief valve in helping with some of the traffic and congestion. So shout out to our amazing sheriff and our fire chief. And again, thank you so much, Governor, for your leadership. And once again, showing not just the country, but the world, what it looks like to lead. So thank you all.
We've got the mayor coming up.
Thank you, Governor. I would just ask us to say a few words about Buc-ee's, and some of it's been said, but first of all, I want to welcome everyone here and thank you for being here. And I want to, some of the people that I invited here, where are the folks from Ring Power? There they are. I told them I'd do that for Buc-ee's. Wouldn't be them. So this is Florida's third Buc-ee's, and this one is going to have 80,000 square feet for 120 pumps, 225 employees. We always need more employees, right? More jobs. Be located on the southeast corner of the new interchange we talked about, and the target date is late 2025. Obviously, that DOT can move it up faster, that would be wonderful. So like, why Marion County? Okay? And I'll just talk a little bit about Marion County. So I think our population, commissioners, just passed 400,000, which is pretty amazing. We've got about 131,000 people in the labor force. We've got about 16,000 businesses in Marion County. One of the things I'm proud to say that Ocala, and the governor talks about this, and he's funded the bonuses for our law enforcement. We are the fourth safest city in the country to live in. I also want to talk about the population. Like right now, in the city of Ocala, there are about 250,000 people in the city. We've got 65,000 people that live here in the city. People come from far around to come to work and play and do those things. So let me say real quick about the fourth safest city country to live in. Some of these mayor's conferences I go to, and go to talk with other governors, but some of the mayors sitting in the room, Mayor of San Francisco, Portland, murder capital of the world, New Orleans, they're all in the room, and you listen to them talk, and the insanity they talk about, you understand why what you read in the paper is actually happening. It's crazy. And they ask me, are you experiencing growth in your city, Mayor? And I go, of course. And they said, where are they coming from? Your city. California, New York, on and on. So yeah, it's pretty amazing. We're proud of our law enforcement agencies, which Congresswoman touched on. But why is all this growth occurring here in Florida? It's growing and happening because of this governor we have here creating business. Creating a business-friendly, low taxes environment that people would want to come to. I was talking to Secretary of Commerce back there. We were talking about how bad would it have to be for a company to pick up where they are, move out of state, relocate employees, families, and interrupt all that to come to another state, wherever that may be. But it's got to be pretty traumatic. But we're that good, and I guess that other states are that bad that they're doing it. So anyway, thank y'all for letting me be here, Governor. Thank you for inviting me.
I've got to follow elections outside of Florida because it affects Florida. This Chicago mayor, people are going to flee Chicago in even greater numbers. We are going to get more refugees as a result of that, because it's like, you know, you see what's not working and you go even further in that direction. You know, you just wonder, like, what is going on? But there's no question that I think you're going to continue to see a downward there, and I think you're going to see, we've had massive businesses move out of there into Florida, into Texas, some other places, but I think you're going to see probably more residents would be my guess. And you know, so we monitor this thing just because you see the result. I mean, that will be very clear. Okay, finally we have Laura DeBella from Enterprise Florida.
Thank you so much, Governor DeSantis. Thank you for your leadership. Hello, good afternoon, everyone. I get to bring it home today, and he's not kidding. We have businesses flocking to us right now. So I have the honor and the pleasure, under the guidance of Governor DeSantis, to run the Chief Economic Development arm for the state, Enterprise Florida Public-Private Partnership, that is just jamming and going gangbusters and works collaboratively with everybody here in this room to ensure that our economic fabric of the state continues and remains as robust, if not more, than it already is. So speed to market is the name of the game in economic development, and that is not only in terms of site readiness, as being able to go vertical when we have someone looking at a particular area, but it also applies to the ingress and egress of all the transportation aspects that a certain industry would need, be it distribution, manufacturing, or headquarters, you name it. The businesses that are intended to occupy this area, thanks to this interchange, will depend heavily on interstate and regional movement to transport their raw materials and their finished goods around the state and beyond. This project will construct a diverging diamond interchange and conduct improvements to an intersection to support economic viability of Ocala 489, a 489 industrial and commercial development, which is a Florida enterprise zone and the first CSX site in Florida. For those that aren't familiar with what a CSX site means, it is a select site that identifies properties and they vet them as accessible locations. They identify them as very appropriate locations for manufacturing facilities along the CSX rail network. It's very critical and very important that this is identified here, and it's going to speak volumes to the amount of business activity that this area will see. The Ocala 489 is intended to serve as an economic engine for job creation in the region and is envisioned as a strategic inland central hub for freight-related traffic, joining the likes of FedEx Ground, Florida Crossroads Logistics Center, Chewy, who have also completed new facilities within the Ocala 489. The construction of the interchange will support the economic viability of the Ocala-Marion County Commerce Park, as you already heard, and the World Equestrian Center to the west, which I still need to go see one of these days. And we've heard it enough. Who doesn't love Buc-ee's? That is absolutely going to be one of the biggest feathers to our cap. Can't say enough about how much transportation means to everything that involves economic development, especially economic development that has massive multiplier effects, which is manufacturing, which is absolutely what is looking in this area. So this is so instrumental. Governor, thank you. Secretary Perdue, thank you. Everybody here involved, thank you. This means everything. Congratulations, Marion County.
Try it and tell me if you like it. Open it up and try it. These things are kind of addicting, so I'm just saying beware.
Big shot. What was that? spend that much of coffee in one day.
Are they good? Are the beaver nuggets good? Yes. Aren't they good? Yes. Good. Okay. Yeah, you guys can take other stuff too. There's they do their own beef jerky. They do a bunch of good stuff, but I think those are definitely, you just keep eating and eating and eating, and that's just the way it is. So, all right, well, we're excited about this project. We've got more on the pipe, but this one will be really good. So, with that, take a question. Anyone got questions back there?
Governor,
Yes.
I've got one. I know I was listening to your comments in Michigan about how you said how Disney tried to slide one through at the last minute. Are you considering taxing toll roads around the Disney resorts and the hotels down there?
So I think so this is the issue with Disney, they had self-government in this state for almost 60 years. We put a stop to that. We ended their self-government. And as that transition from a corporation running its own government to a state control board, taking that and actually governing that based on the will of the people, they tried to do things that, quite frankly, were underhanded, doing like some development agreement at the last minute that was supposedly going to bind the district. First of all, this is self-dealing. They're negotiating with themselves. You can't do that. So there's a provision of Florida law where the legislature can void that. I think that the state board is going to void it too. So on both ends, I think that'll be taken care of. But what the speaker said and what I've said is now that this has been reopened, all options are on the table. We need to make sure that people understand, whether you're an individual or you're a corporation, that you don't get to play by your own rules. That the people of the state of Florida ultimately are the sovereign. They elect people to fill these offices and enact policy. And I think Disney has always viewed itself as being exempt from that constitutional process. Well, those days are over here in the state of Florida. So I think there'll be a discussion on a wide range of opportunities to be able to make sure that this state controlled board is able to do the things that I've always said. Live under the same laws as everybody else, pay fair share of taxes, pay off all the municipal debt, and live under the same law. Now that we've got rid of self-government, you actually now have state agencies going in and doing inspections like they would do on any other business. So they're now subjected to all this that they necessarily weren't. And the board, they got in probably about 6 weeks ago, maybe a little longer. They had to hire people, so there's been a little bit of a process. But I think what you're going to see is in the ensuing weeks, you're going to see a lot of very, very strong action that's going to basically validate what we said. But there will be additional legislative action taken in Tallahassee that will nullify what they tried to do at the 11th hour, and then potentially, arm the board with the ability, to make sure that this is run appropriately. Yes. So, it's affected me in the sense that it's reinforced this problem we have in our country, where we have the political left weaponizing the rule of law, actually abandoning the rule of law by weaponizing it and using it against people they don't like. And that needs to stop in this country. And you got the guy in Manhattan, but honestly, he's one of maybe a dozen or more across the country that get elected on an ideological agenda, usually with funding from people like George Soros, and they come in and they're trying to manipulate the law in order to advance a political agenda. That's not the role of a prosecutor. The role of the prosecutor is to apply the law even-handedly and fairly. And so what we've seen across the country, they've abandoned prosecuting really significant crimes, letting criminals roam the streets. Crime has gone up. People have fled these jurisdictions because of their recklessness, but it's all about trying to use the levers of power to advance a political agenda. And I think that that's just fundamentally wrong, and I'm just the only person in this country that can stand before you and say, when we had somebody in Tampa that was trying to pursue that agenda, I yanked him from his position.